Hello everyone and welcome back to GTNH, and today we're going to be continuing the space race chapter, and with any luck we'll be able to craft and launch the next tier of rocket, tier 3. And this will of course take us one step closer to our ultimate goal of the tier 7 rocket, but just crafting the rocket is probably going to be the easy part. We also need a bunch of other things here. We need to fuel the rocket, so we need the next tier of rocket fuel. The cetane boosted diesel that we use for tier 2 isn't capable of powering the tier 3 rocket engine. And additionally, we also need thermal padding, as the tier 2 spacesuit is not going to protect us from the elements of the tier 3 planets. So yeah, it sounds like a simple enough goal, but this is GTNH, so there's going to be more than a handful of rabbit holes to jump through today. As part of crafting the rocket though, we'll need the implosion compressor, which I did move between episodes, as well as wiring in a power connection over to the opposite side of the base to the chemical factory, as well as an applied energistics P2P connection. And do you guys remember the numbering scheme that we had for our base, for the P2Ps? Well, I did go ahead and update that resource in Photoshop, and we got it extended with the new parts of the base added. So that means we can name our P2P tunnels, and yeah, so we have 32 channels here. We have our implosion compressor, which doesn't have an energy hatch just yet. Again, this is used in the crafting of the rocket parts, so we won't get to this for quite some time, I suspect. But yeah, let's do a little recap of what we done last episode, and just to give you guys an update here on the plat line. It's been working very, very well. It's not been running that long, to be honest. Or, I mean, it's quite slow on the inserts. So right now I think it's making osmium. And we're up to a solid 143 osmium. I think it's only osmium and iridium it's making right now. Yeah, 1600 iridium plus a few ingots, plus a block. And the reason it's only doing osmium and iridium right now is because, well, that's the only inputs that we have. In the last episode, we fixed our large chemical reactor here, which processes the B combs, mainly osmium and iridium and palladium, with phthalic acid, which we also got automated down in the chemical factory. And phthalic acid, fortunately, is now full. We are capped on storage here for phthalic acid. So it's really just the processing speed here of this large chemical reactor, which processes the osmium, palladium, and iridium combs. The rest are sent through hydrofluoric acid and hydrochloric acid. But as we saw, there is a cost to doing this. Our power spikes up to around 80,000 a tick. Or sorry, 80,000 every 5 seconds. And we generate 120,000 a tick, which is quite a significant jump from, yeah, not too long ago we were maxed out at about 10,000 EU every 5 seconds. So all the extra machinery is putting quite the strain on our power system, but I think we can get away with delaying the upgrades to power for, well, for a while. The rocket stuff isn't going to take a lot of power, at least not long term, at least not consistently a lot of power. I did realise last episode that I forgot something on our pin list. Pure hydrofluoric acid, which we need for one of the LCRs processing the combs, we are now out of, and therefore we can't process any of the platinum combs that we have, since unlike iridium and osmium, these are processed through hydrofluoric acid rather than phthalic acid. And hydrofluoric we are completely out of. We do have hydrochloric acid and diluted hydrochloric acid, but we don't have hydrofluoric acid. So to make hydrofluoric acid, we combine hydrogen gas and fluorine in a large chemical reactor. And we should have that set up next to where we make polytetrafluoroethylene in the chemical factory. But we're out of fluorine. So to get fluorine, there's a few different things you can do to get it. But the way we're getting it is from biotite dust, from the electrolysis of biotite, which is going to give us raw silicon, alumina, magnesium, potassium, oxygen, and our fluorine here. But I think what happened here is I took out biotite from the electrolyzer here at ore processing. So I think... Oh, it's still here. Wait, we're out of biotite as well. Okay, biotite we get from the electrolysis of what exactly? Or is it centrifuge? Oh yeah, that's right, black granite dust. Yeah, centrifuge black granite dust. And this gives us silicon dioxide and biotite, and then biotite we electrolyze. I think what happened here is I took it out of this centrifuge. Yeah, it must have been the black granite. Black granite isn't going to be here, right? Yeah. Let's go ahead and add black granite back in this centrifuge so that we're generating biotite dust. There we go. This should also turn on for biotite once it runs the recipe. And then the biotite will give us our fluorine. That's going to be sent to main fluid storage, and we should start to generate hydrofluoric acid again for the combs. But I think I took it out of the centrifuge because we're overflowing on silicon dioxide. We have over 400k, and it was kind of filling up the drives here at ore processing. So I think what I'm going to do is, since we have the drawers here, I'm just going to add it to a drawer and we'll overflow it. Or sorry, we'll overflow void the drawer for silicon dioxide dust. Because I don't want to really end up with too much of this. We can process it a bit into raw silicon, but it's not really worth it because we have like, yeah, 100k raw silicon. Maybe you guys caught this earlier, but we're out of hydrogen as well. This is hydrochloric acid and diluted hydrochloric acid. Okay, we cannot be out of hydrogen. That is that's used all over the place. Hydrogen is a very core component of our chemistry setup. And I think we make hydrogen in this electrolyzer, or we should anyway. This is going to be electrolyzing. Oh, I see what the problem is immediately here. This is fluid P2P. Yeah, I know exactly what's going on here. So maybe you guys saw the end of the last episode when we moved dimethylbenzene, 1,2-dimethylbenzene from, well, which we get from the distillation towers making regular benzene. And we switched out the fluid P2Ps with dual interfaces so that we could ingest it into main fluid storage in the new base. But I guess that had the unintended consequence of starving this electrolyzer of 1,2-dimethylbenzene, which we not only use for making phthalic acid, we also electrolyze excess into hydrogen gas. It's actually a pretty good deal at 1 to 10. 1 bucket of 1,2 to 10 buckets of hydrogen, plus a bit of carbon, which it looks like we're just storing here in the chest. Okay, this should be a simple enough fix. All we have to do is swap the P2P with a fluid export bus for 1,2-dimethylbenzene because we make way in excess of this. So the excess that we don't use for phthalic acid is going to be, yeah, it's already doing it. Already electrolyzing for excess hydrogen. Yeah, to be honest, I completely forgot about that process. I just took hydrogen. Yeah, you kind of just take hydrogen and oxygen for granted when you have such an abundance of it for so long. But I think now we should be making, yeah, hydrofluoric acid right here, which is then going to turn into polytetrafluoroethylene. And that also probably means this LCR is turned back on again for platinum comb processing. Perfect. Okay, awesome. So we're starting to fix our bottlenecks. We can take hydrofluoric acid off our pin list. And I hope that we start to buffer hydrogen again. Yeah, it looks like we are. 1.4 million already. Again, that's a very favourable recipe with the 1,2-dimethylbenzene. Are we dropping on that by any chance? Nah. Nah, we're good. We're good for that as well. Yeah, so these LCRs are just going to keep running, trying to get through the backlog, which, by the way, we basically haven't even touched since the last episode because of the hydrofluoric acid issue. And also just because there's so many combs and it just takes so long to process. That's kind of the reason, though, I wanted to fix it so early on. But in the meantime, we can look at our objectives for today, which is going to be the rocket fuel to start off with, I think. So yeah, again, we'll leave the rocket crafting for later. We'll leave the thermal padding for later. For now, to fuel the rocket, we need something called dense hydrazine. And dense hydrazine, let's add this to our pin list. Dense hydrazine is made in a chemical plant, something we've not crafted yet, and it looks something like this. It's a big, big multi-block. I don't know where it's going to live long term, actually. I think for today we're going to place it here, but we have a couple extra tiers of rocket fuel, which we'll have to make, not just the dense hydrazine. We'll have to make the... Well, it took a bit of searching, but I think it's this, CN3H703 rocket fuel, which we need for the tier 5 and 6 rockets. But as you can see, there is a minimum tier of chemical plant, which we need to run certain recipes. And our dense hydrazine is minimum tier 5, which is titanium. But I think we can actually go one higher than that. This is the titanium one. I think we can actually craft tier 6, which is robust tungsten steel machine casing, rather than titanium. So long as we have enough tungsten steel, 960. But I think we can actually smelt some more, right? Maybe. Maybe. We don't have tungstic acid processing set up. At least not in the new base. But we do have a very old system over here. I wonder if there's any... Oh, yes. That's actually just what I wanted to see here. That should be enough for us, right? To get our tungsten steel. Now, I wonder if there's any other huge unexpected costs in this. HSS S coils. We do have high-speed steel S coils on our existing blast furnace, or at least on one set, but it's very unlikely we have any spare, right? We have 8 8 coils, and we need how many? 27 coils? Are they... I can only see like 9 here, unless they're like underneath some of these casings. I bet they are. Of course they are. Yeah, in that case we'll need another, what, 19 coils? Can we do that? Apparently we can. It's going to cost us some iridium and osmium, but honestly it's not really a big deal. A bit of HSSG as well, and tungsten steel. But yeah, let's go ahead and kickstart this craft. The recipe for the machine controller looks a bit scary, but is there any other unexpected costs? LUV machine casing, which is rhodium plated palladium. We've not made this yet, have we? And this is a blast furnace recipe. 500 seconds in the blast furnace for one? 500 seconds for one. 57 times 8 is 456 rhodium plated palladium. Oh, wait a second, I'm making a drama over nothing. This is it's not going to be 500 seconds. It's still a very long time, but 500 seconds is HV. We don't have any of these gases, by the way. Krypton, neon, radon, argon. We have radon, but not enough to splurge on this. But we do have helium. This is 500 seconds at HV. Let's add some recipes here. We'll maybe do this like half a stack at... Well, let's just do this a stack at a time. Yeah, and we'll also need the recipe here from dust to ingot. And this will go in our EBFs, which I also just added the HSSS recipe. Dust recipe goes in our mixer, circuit number 1. Alright, 63 seconds per ingot is much more manageable for rhodium plated palladium. And in fact, we should get a quest for doing this as well, right? Assuming we can cool it down. Yeah, it's medium voltage in the freezer. So we should see the ingots enter the system here any second, and with 64 we can get our next quest in IV for rhodium plated palladium. Most of the other Platline quests we did get the first time around. But yeah, even with the good news of the overclocked recipe for rhodium plated palladium, I still have a feeling it's going to take me a while to put together the rest of this chemical plant. So let's not waste any more time, let's do some crafting. After starting the crafts for rhodium plated palladium and beginning another batch of tungstic acid, I first started to work on getting the machine controller for the chemical plant. There's a few materials we haven't seen in this recipe, such as blood steel and black metal. They weren't difficult to make at all though, as you're actually supposed to craft this machine way sooner in the pack than we are, and upgrade it throughout your progression. However, I want to minimise the amount of upgrades required, and so we're going for the maximum tier we can manage at this point, which is tier 6. As part of the actual rocket fuel recipe, the dense hydrazine, we do need that also annoying chemical briefly mentioned last episode called coal tar. To get this coal tar though, we do need both a coke oven and a distillation tower, 2 machines which we use elsewhere, but those are running dedicated recipes. So instead of interrupting those processes, I decided just to craft 2 spare, and we'll repurpose them later. This dense hydrazine setup is only going to last us until we have the tier 6 rocket, at which point we need the new rocket fuel crafted in a different manner. So I want to make it easy for us to craft this hydrazine, but we don't need anything super permanent. Overall, it was a long and tedious process to gather all the things we need, but also quite exciting as we're actively working towards rocket progression. Alright guys, so after some crafting, we've got ourselves a large chemical reactor, a distillation tower, and an industrial coke oven, along with a EV dehydrator. Yes, EV dehydrator, which will be right around here. So yeah, as I said, this isn't going to be super permanent. We are eventually going to move all these machines out of here, and then we'll replace it with basically whatever doesn't fit in the chemical factory. And by the way, all of this space here is brand new this episode. It took about 2 hours to place all the blocks, and it's more or less an exact copy of the other side. I mean, it's not an exact copy, it's more like a mirror of the other side of the chemical factory. And yeah, this is going to be used for all the things that you guys quite rightly pointed out that we are missing. Things like samarium processing, things like Nequada alloy, all this type of stuff. Things like the water line. Yes, this is GTNH, there is a water processing line. It's like water crystals or something like that. Things like Kevlar will also belong here. But yeah, for the moment we're going to craft our dense hydrazine. So we have our chemical plant controller block. This thing is a 7x7. We have EV energy hatches on all these machines here. We don't need it to be EV, but it will give us a bit of future proofing just in case we run into any recipes down the line before we move the machines. So yeah, this thing is 7x7. I made some of these structure hologram projectors to help us auto build. So I think for auto build we do need to hold 6 of these, because if we only hold 1, then it's going to try to place the tier 1, and obviously we want to craft, or we have the materials for tier 6. So I think we have to have 6 of these structure hologram projectors in our hand, and then shift right click should allow us to auto build. And I'm not sure if the hatches are going to be in the right place, because those are highly variable. I think they can be any of these machine casings, can be the hatches. Do we have a maintenance hatch? Yes, we have a maintenance hatch. Is it going to finish it? Almost. Yeah, again, I'm not really sure how these things work. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't, so maybe let's just try and finish this by hand. Is this going to give us a full multi-block? Yes, perfect. Okay, so let's remind ourselves the recipe here for dense hydrazine. First of all, we need methanol plus hydrazine, circuit 2 in the chemical plant. Methanol we'll come back to. We need hydrazine, also made in the chemical plant, circuit 21. Ammonia, which we make, plus hydrogen peroxide, also made in the chemical plant, circuit number 4, with either oxygen or air. We're going to use oxygen since we're just batch crafting, plus anthracene and 2-ethyl anthrohydroquinone, also made in the chemical plant, which is circuit 4, orange metal catalyst, hydrogen, which we have, plus 2-ethyl anthraquinone, also made in the chemical plant, which is phthalic anhydride dust and ethyl benzene. And phthalic anhydride dust is made in the dehydrator with phthalic acid. Yep, welcome to GTNH. I told you there was going to be a couple of rabbit holes today. So yeah, the first stage is in the dehydrator. We have to feed this thing phthalic acid. Okay, is there some sort of circuit with this? I bet there is. Yeah, biocircuit 15. And there's a lot of situations here which take the biocircuits. A lot of the GT++ machines take bio. Obviously we don't have that functionality with our autocrafting network. So, and there was a lot of stuff here which needs biocircuits and breakthrough circuits, not just the regular program Gregtech circuits. So yeah, I guess in that case for now I just crafted it by hand. We're just going to place a chest here, and this will give us our phthalic anhydride dust. And this has to be sent through the chemical plant here, right? Circuit 4, ethyl benzene. We need to make ethyl benzene, and there's 2 ways we can get this. We can either do the large chemical reaction between benzene and ethylene, or we can also distill coal tar. And the distillation of coal tar is the way we're going to go, because that also gives us anthracene. And I removed these cables here. I shouldn't have removed those cables. Yeah, so we first have to run our coke oven. So we're going to place a conveyor here, import interface, and we'll request charcoal. Charcoal we make as part of our benzene system. So we should have like 4 million charcoal, I think. Yeah, 4 million charcoal. We've been voiding this for ages and ages. So yeah, charcoal inside the industrial coke oven. Let's do the maintenance. This is going to be circuit number 8, and this will give us coal tar. Not enough item space. If I remember right, this is going to give us like ashes or some kind of garbage product, in which case we're probably just going to avoid it. Yeah, dried earth. This is useless, right? Yeah, it can give us dirt. Let's just void that, which we can do in the machine. And that is extremely obnoxious. Let's get a muffler hatch for that. Yeah, we'll muffler hatch that and the distillation tower. And probably this thing, although I'm curious to see what kind of sound it makes, because I've never actually ran this machine yet. Okay, so if I'm not wrong, this is going to be making us our coal tar. I have the output hatch on the right hand side. And yeah, we want to just send this straight into the distillation tower here, so I guess we can just place a fluid pipe. This should be able to take the temperature, right? Tungsten steel. Let's do the maintenance on this one. Start it up. Aha, yes, we're making, what are we making here? Coal tar, oil, naphtha, ethyl benzene, which is what we're after, anthracene, which is what we're after, and kerosene. For now, since this isn't a super permanent setup, I'm just going to put some super tanks on the output hatches, and we'll just buffer, like, I don't know, some amount of this stuff, and we'll just transfer it over manually. I'm hoping to make about 64 buckets or so, like a stack of cells of rocket fuel, and that should last us like all the trips we need in the tier 3 and 4 rockets. And then again, once we hit 5 and 6, we need a different rocket fuel. So yeah, all this is going to have to be changed anyway. So yeah, one of these is going to be making us our ethyl benzene. It looks like not at a very fast rate, only 1 bucket, so I mean, we have this chemical reactor here which we need for other things in this process. But we can also run ethyl benzene as just benzene plus ethylene to give us 2 buckets at a time. So actually what I might do, yeah, what we're going to do is just set that up right here. And I can never find the right cell here because there's so many different variants of ethylene. But it's this one. This is the one. So that's going into a quadruple input hatch, right? I think it was circuit 1, which we should already have in here. Let's do the maintenance again. Turn it on, and yeah, we're getting 2 buckets at a time every 0.2 seconds. So that's every tick. That's way faster than the distillation tower. But again, we need this for, what is it, anthracene? So while we're waiting on the distillation tower doing its thing here, we can take our phthalic anhydride dust and our ethyl benzene and run this through the chemical plant. So I think for this recipe we need a minimum of medium voltage. We need circuit 4, which I should have in there. Ethyl benzene and 15 phthalic anhydride dust is going to give us 2 ethyl anthraquinone. Let me know if I'm saying that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the right pronunciation. Okay, so we have input bus here, we have output hatch here. Let's get another super tank. Ethyl benzene goes in the input, and the dust goes in the input hatch, or the input bus, sorry. Did we do the maintenance? Yes, we done the maintenance on this thing, so of course. Yeah, of course. It's gonna deafen us at the same time. Let's get a muffler for that. And yeah, we've got 14 buckets already of 2 ethyl anthraquinone. What is the bottleneck here? Just the dust? Yes, the dust. The dust in the dehydrator is a bit slow. So what is the ratios for this 2 ethyl anthraquinone? It's 1:1 with 2 ethyl anthrohydroquinone, which is by adding hydrogen. And also this orange metal catalyst, which was an absolute pain to craft. Takes one of these breakthrough circuits and the catalyst carrier. So we've run a bunch more of this recipe. The next stage, we've got over 100 buckets here of the ethyl anthrohydroquinone, which we can mix with hydrogen as well as our orange metal catalyst. I've never actually used these before, but I think they have durability, and it will consume some amount for every recipe it runs. So this should give us our... Oh yeah, it's a 10-second recipe. Let's move this tank, get a brand new tank for the hydro version of this ethyl anthrohydroquinone. Right? Yes. 8 buckets every 10 seconds. That's not so bad. We're mixing with hydrogen, pulling from the ME system. And yes, this cable is super spaghetti, but it's not going to stay here long term. It's fine, it's fine. We're just supplying hydrogen here. Yeah, we only need a little bit of this. So the next stage after this is to mix with only 50 millibuckets of anthracene and a bit of oxygen. So let's also request oxygen in here. We need a capacity card. Man, I love these quadruple input hatches. They are so nice. So nice for Gregtech multi-blocks. Awesome. So yeah, we're getting oxygen. Is that all of our... yeah, let's actually run all of this through with hydrogen first. And we'll just convert it all as we go. I think there actually is a recycling step, so it maybe wasn't necessary to make quite as much of this. One of the last stages before... Yeah, in the recipe for hydrazine, we also get some of... Or is it hydrogen peroxide? We also get some of this 2-ethyl anthraquinone back. And quite a lot of it back as well, along with our hydrogen peroxide, which we need for the next stage. So it probably wasn't necessary to run all of this phthalic anhydride dust. And in fact, I've stopped the dehydrator just to save on some phthalic acid, because we're also going to need some more phthalic acid for the next project for today. Our distillation tower is still on right now, right? Yeah, we have 10 buckets of anthracene, which is way more than enough. The naphtha, I guess we can distill. I mean, we can send that into main fluid storage. Although we might be full on naphtha, because naphtha is one thing that we get quite a lot of. Yeah, we're full on naphtha storage. Okay, so it looks like we've run all of our inputs here. Next stage is for the... Yeah, this recipe here, which gives us 2 outputs. So we are going to have to add a second output hatch here, which I guess we're just going to do on the side. And we'll have to remove the hydrogen gas and replace with anthracene from the distillation tower. And this should start the recipe automatically. Mix with oxygen gas, right? Aha, perfect. That's only a 1-second recipe. But yeah, we're getting some of our ethyl anthraquinone back, which we can recycle with hydrogen again. And crucially, hydrogen peroxide, which we then want to send through the chemical plant with ammonia, which we make. Circuit 21 this time. And then hydrazine, and then one more step for dense hydrazine, which is to mix with methanol. So methanol is not a chemical that we make automatically, but I knew that we were going to need this whenever I was setting up the plat line. And so we should have methanol in main fluid storage. So that's super tanks. I'm at the wrong side here. We should be storing methanol in main fluid storage. That's hydrogen dioxide, hydrochloric acid. Or sorry, not methanol, carbon monoxide, which we can chemically react with hydrogen, and this should give us methanol, circuit number 1. This is the main reason I have the chemical reactor here. Yeah, that's more ethyl benzene, but we should be able to switch this back on. Once it fills the input hatch, we'll help it along with the spare hydrogen we took out of the chemical plant. Is it going to run? Yes, 0.3 seconds, and this gives us our methanol. And a short time later, I'm learning that we're making way too much of this dense hydrazine. So I ran the rest of the recipes, and we have like almost 500,000 dense hydrazine here, which is way too much. I said 64. This is way more than 64 buckets, but you know, it's going to last us for a while. And I don't know, we might even burn it for power, since rocket fuel is actually one of those things that you can send through various multi-blocks, like the rocket engines and like the Rocketdynes. And this can actually generate you like millions of power depending on which rocket fuel tier that you send through. And I know for a fact that our tier 3 rocket is not going to use like all this dense hydrazine. 450,000 is the final amount, plus we have a bunch of the stuff that we can recycle again. And of course more of our dust here. But yeah, I've turned off all the machines, and I guess we've completed our first objective for today. It took a while to get there, but we also made preparation for this last episode by automating phthalic acid. So now we have fuel for the rocket. We still need to craft the rocket, but what I'd like to look at right now is the thermal padding. So in addition to crafting those multi-blocks over on the opposite side, I also started to lay out some more space for more large chemical reactors in the chemical factory here. And this is going to be for a very closely related chemical process called polybenzimidazole. This stuff right here, I've mentioned it a few times, and it's actually one of the last quests we need to do in IV, along with the samarium line, but this will be later on. Yeah, essentially this quest line down here leads to polybenzimidazole. So polybenzimidazole we need for ZPM. It's used to craft ZPM and above machine hulls, among other things. It's used quite often in the assembler. We can use it for input buses in replacement of polyethylene or polytetrafluoroethylene. It's essentially the next complex plastic. So we can replace the recipes to give us more output for a lot of these things. SMDs, we can use it in that. But yeah, you can see here it's also used in the tier 2 thermal padding. We obviously only need to craft one spacesuit, and it's about a bucket per piece. Yeah, 2 buckets for the leggings, 2 buckets for the chest plate. Yeah, so it's about 10 buckets total that we need. I don't know the exact amount. But since this is such an important chemical, we're going to go all the way here, and we're just going to fully automate it. We're going to put it on passive. So all it's going to actually take is 6 more large chemical reactors. Which, I've started to lay out. 3 of them have to be at least IV. So that's these 3 here. I crafted an extra IV energy hatch. I made 4 last episode. 2 we placed in the LCR up there to process the combs. 2 we had spare, and 1 extra I just crafted. So yeah, these will be at IV. And then we have 3 more here to complete the process at EV. So looking at the recipes here for polybenzimidazole, you're going to spot a lot of familiar chemicals. Things like sulfuric acid, things like phenol. We make both of these already. Things like phthalic acid. There it is again. It's used all over the place. And actually the phthalic acid is one of the most complex parts of this. It's actually a very simple process to put together at this point. I mean, we make all the rest of the components in this line. So starting at polybenzimidazole, we need diphenyl isothalate and 3,3-diaminobenzidine. Diphenyl isothalate is just sulfuric acid, phenol, and phthalic acid. And the other one, 3,3-diaminobenzidine, is just zinc dust. We have an abundance of zinc dust. Ammonia, we make ammonia already. And 3,3-dichlorobenzidine. And all we need for this stuff is copper dust and 2-nitrochlorobenzene, which is nitration mixture and chlorobenzene. Chlorobenzene we can pump from other planets, from Mars. But I think we're just going to do chlorine plus benzene for this. At least for today, at least just to craft the spacesuit. And then nitration mixture is just sulfuric acid and nitric acid. Another familiar chemical since we set this up last episode, nitric acid right here. The phenol that we need, which we also get a bit back once we make polybenzimidazole. The phenol for this stage we actually make out of our benzene system. So similar to the 1,2-dimethylbenzene, I switched out the P2P tunnels with interfaces. So we can buffer phenol at main fluid storage. So we should have access to that. And then sulfuric acid, we're making this in a bunch of different places. We're at 6 million sulfuric acid. And we get that as a byproduct in many different chemical processes. Namely this. The desulfurization of fuel gives us hydrogen sulfide. And we combine that with hydrogen here. And we get sulfuric acid. So yeah, we have tons and tons of that stuff. It's really just a matter of putting this together. I really don't think there's going to be any other issue in this. Oh, we are missing a mixer though, right? For the nitration mixture. Yeah, sulfuric acid plus nitric acid has to be done in a mixer. And there's no way I'm going to craft any more single blocks at this point. So we might as well just craft an industrial mixer. We need an IV mixer. Can we make one of these? We can make one of these. Just a machine hull we're missing. One advanced mixer, IV. This is like the 4th one we've crafted by now. Oops, and the AE system is offline. It blinked out again. Are we out of power? No, we have power, so it's just... I don't know what it is. It keeps blinking out every now and then if you have the terminal open long enough. I still don't know what it is. I still think it might be an issue with the overworld. Like trying to load those chunks as well as the personal dimension. But let's get our industrial mixing machine. And the multi-use casing, which is the casing block for this multi-block, we do have the recipe for. Let's request like another 20. These are simple enough to craft. Nitration mixture, I think is only it's a ULV recipe. Yeah, and what I'm thinking is we put that on top of this electrolyzer here. I was going to move it, but I kind of don't really mind it here anymore. And we'll just stick the mixer right on top and we'll keep the rest LCRs. But yeah, as you saw, this should be a simple enough process. I don't think it's going to take me that long. The main thing that can catch you out in polybenzimidazole is phthalic acid. And of course, we already have this fully automated and full storage buffers. So yeah, let's get on and add polybenzimidazole to our passive list. Oh, this is all coming together. I'm so excited for this. We have one more LCR to do. We have, yeah, 5 filtered plus the mixer over there above the electrolyzer. We have one more casing, which I was waiting on crafting to fill in the back. And all the inputs should be here, right? Diphenyl isophthalate plus 3,3-diaminobenzidine. Once we do the maintenance here, lock the recipe, switch it on. Oh, fluid output, fluid output. Dang it, I thought I was prepared for this, but obviously not. 2 more output hatches. We are going to have to lock these because one is going to give us phenol, and we want to make sure that we handle the byproduct outputs, same as we do with all byproducts. We store in super tanks on site, and then yeah, fluid storage bus, which we'll do underneath. Extract only, low priority, phenol. So this will be used first before anything in main fluid storage. We have a couple of situations like that in the polybenzimidazole line, like for example hydrochloric acid. I think we have that twice. And then also diluted sulfuric acid, which I think is being sent to the plat line. There was an issue here where the plat line stopped, and I'm pretty sure it was only some quick investigation here, but I think we don't have enough amperage here. I believe this transformer has to be a high amp transformer, because we're sending like 4 amps of IV into 2 high amp EV transformers, which if all the machines are on, I think it's going to starve some of power. And I've come over here a couple of times actually, and the machines have been off. So that's the only conclusion I can draw here. Yeah, like this one here for ammonium chloride is currently off, and I think it was starved of power, so I'm going to keep it off right now, just so we don't waste any ammonia, because we do use ammonia in polybenzimidazole. So where were we here? Yeah, phenol in the super tank, void any excess, and point it upwards just for consistency. And then the other output hatch here should be our polybenzimidazole. Once we turn the machine back on, please work. Yes! We have polybenzimidazole fully automated. Oh, this is amazing. This is awesome. Okay, let's add our sign. And for those of you guys who have seen season 1... Wait, I'm not going to be able to type this. But polybenzimidazole. Like that. Man, I hope I spelled everything right here. But we do have signs on all the machines. So yeah, 3,3-dichlorobenzidine, 3-nitrochlorobenzene, chlorobenzene, which again, we'll switch out later on once we can pump it from Mars. I mean, we can pump it from Mars, we're just not yet. And so for the moment, instead of sending it away anywhere to fluid storage or anything like that, I just have a fluid storage bus on the machine because it's a very quick recipe. It's 12 seconds at LV. So this is not going to be a bottleneck. So rather than buffering a large amount and going through our chlorine or benzene, yeah, decided to buffer the output hatch here with a fluid storage bus so that it takes straight from the hatch and then it goes into the bottom LCR, I think. But polybenzimidazole, we do want to send to main fluid storage, so we're going to dual interface and then add our super tank over here. I also added some more super tanks here for dichlorobenzidine, and basically my thinking was, if the recipe before it is slow, like this is a 90-second recipe, so it's a relatively slow recipe, although we get 9 buckets. For things like this, I just want to make sure we keep a nice buffer of, and it's not super expensive to make either. It's just some copper, some chlorobenzene, and nitration mixture, which is cheap. And yeah, this is kind of another reason I didn't want to buffer too much chlorobenzene, because I knew we'd buffer a lot of this, and also polybenzimidazole here, which also has to have a fluid storage bus. High priority, filtered for the fluid, bidirectional. And yes, we're making our polybenzimidazole perfect. Nice. More machines to add to chemistry. This place is looking... oh, the map is broken again. Let's refresh it. Yeah, our base is starting to take shape. Look at this place. I still haven't decided, by the way, on the question I asked you guys in the last episode on where we're going to place our auto-crafting facility. Still haven't made a decision on that. I'm waiting on some of the comments coming in from last episode, and so I'll collate all that data and try to, yeah, find a general consensus. I'm still leaning towards going north, though. Yeah, I think we'll go north, but also past the hives, so it's not underneath. Like, we might as well use all this extra space out here. And yeah, we've maintained the symmetry for now. I also think I might have cut it out of the last episode by accident, but I want to keep the symmetry on this side of the witchery area by placing another similar size circle, and we'll put Thaumcraft over on this side. Some of you guys suggested Autocraft in here, but Autocrafting, there's no way it's going to fit here. At least not in the same size of circle as the witchery area. So yeah, we've got our chemical here. That's probably enough chemistry for today because I'm all chemicaled out. But we do need tungsten springs, titanium foil. Titanium foil is so easy. Thermal cloth, which is, oh, we can recycle the first one, right? Yeah, we assemble and machine the first one for all the thermal cloth back. And then we combine with polybenzimidazole and tungsten string. Okay, one thing at a time here. Let's add a recipe for titanium foil. And we always want to use ingot to foil instead of titanium plate to foil. This used to be the only recipe, but they added a circuit 10 recipe for all the foils, which is really nice. Definitely recommend you guys use this one. Let's just do this 8 at a time. We're not going to need too much of this foil. As far as I'm aware, foil isn't used in... or titanium foil isn't used really anywhere else. What are we looking for here? Circuit 10? Yeah, this goes in the bending machine. Tungsten string is done in the wire mill. Oh yeah, I just remembered what I was going to say. Those of you guys who have seen Season 1, we did go through this whole malarkey, since you used to have the Tier 3 rocket to access the personal dimension. So back in Season 1, I do remember doing this, and it was such a nightmare because we had nowhere near the amount of infrastructure we have at this point. Some of you guys might be able to remember way back then. But this time around, we are prepared. I kind of knew what was coming this time around. So yeah, we need long tungsten rod forge hammer recipe. Wait, is this LV? Because we only have an LV forge hammer at the moment. Yeah, we can manage this. And then tungsten rod done in the extruder. I've added so many recipes recently, it's kind of insane. But all the more reason we need a full auto-crafting facility. Forge hammer, and finally the wire mill. I don't think it matters which circuit number this gets for tungsten string. Oh, and just when I seen that thing in my inventory as well, I have some phthalic acid, which I took out of the chemical plant. And I just wanted to use some of it up, so I didn't filter this fluid export bus. This should have phthalic acid, but I want to make sure we can put this in to get it out of the inventory. But this is actually still full, so this is stopped for some reason. Uh-oh. Oh, there we go. It was just because probably broke the chemical reactor to fix the outputs here. Yeah, now it's starting to run the recipes, and we can get rid of this stuff. Eventually. Oh, are you kidding me, Thaumcraft? Stop giving me eggs. Stop giving me eggs. One of these is going to give us a chicken, right? Oh no, I'm surprised. I'm surprised. But yeah, let's go ahead and recycle our old thermal padding. Yeah, it's just circuit 1 in the assembling machine. This gives us all the tier 1 thermal cloth back. And then I started the recipe for... Oh yeah, I keep forgetting we don't have wireless here. I started the recipes here for tungsten string. And I think it's 48 that we need. Plus the titanium foil. That's another egg. Yeah, so now, let's not waste this because this is very painful to craft the first time. Because we need woven cotton, and I don't think we have too much of that. So let's try to not mess this up. Oh no, this stage we can't mess up. This is all circuit 1. Titanium foil, tungsten string, thermal cloth, and polybenzimidazole. Oh, it's a slow recipe. 15 seconds per. Yeah, I think it's 24 pieces, right, for the full suit of armor. And it's 1-to-1 tungsten string. Oh no, it's not 1-to-1, so we need a lot more tungsten string. Oh yeah, we'll need like hundreds of tungsten string because it's 8-to-1. And then we need 24 of this stuff, so it's 24 times 8. 24 times 8 minus 48, since we already have 48. So 144, that's not too bad. That's only 36 tungsten. Another egg. Poor LV Forge Hammer, look at this guy. He's doing his best. 9 seconds per recipe. Oh man. Yeah, that needs an upgrade. I cannot believe we're using LV machines still. At least, especially for things like the Forge Hammer. And, frequently used recipes like that. That's kind of unacceptable at this point. So I'm just thinking here, should we go for the rocket this episode? Because it's going to be quite a bit of crafting. Is there any other unexpected costs in this one? Well, first of all, do we have the schematic for the tier 3 rocket? Oh, that's something I didn't even consider. Do we have the... Are we even able to craft it in our NASA workbench? Tier 1? Yeah, we don't have the schematic yet, do we? Did we ever go and fetch that thing? Because if not, we're going to have to take a trip to... I don't know if it's Mars or if it's Deimos or where the dungeon is. But we basically have to kill a boss and loot the schematic for the next tier of rocket. Oh no, and we just recycled our thermal padding. Oh, please tell me we can use the higher tier thermal padding. No, you must be able to. Yeah, you must be able to. Like, I'm like 99% sure. I'm not even going to check it before we go. Yeah, there's no way the higher tier thermal padding is not going to work. No way, I refuse to believe that. Unless maybe we did get it and it's in this chest. This is pretty much the only place I can think it would be. Like our space chest. Unless it's in the ME system. Yeah, no schematics here. But yeah, you can see here, like, we had a stack of cetane boosted diesel, which is the tier 2 rocket fuel. And yeah, we've not even used half a stack of cells to fuel the rocket. So that 500,000 dense hydrazine is way more than enough. Even though I think the tier 3 rocket takes slightly more fuel to run the engine, I think it's not going to be anywhere near 500,000. So yeah, we're good. We're good for that. We just need that schematic and our thermal padding. Nice. Unfortunately, no quest yet, since we haven't unlocked it. But I was just looking through the quest here, and apparently we have the Mars dungeon quest. And we have the quest already for the NASA workbench schematic. And this is labelled as tier 3. So where on earth is this schematic? I really can't remember. Oh, wait a second. Maybe it's in the really old base here. There's a chest here with a bunch of stuff in it. That has... That was such a guess. I had no idea where this thing was. Okay, boy, am I glad to see you. Oh, man. Yeah, this should unlock the recipe inside the NASA workbench if we give it the schematic. And of course, we don't have the materials yet, right? Yeah, now it shows us the recipe page for the tier 3 rocket. Now, of course, we have to actually fill this in. We do have our thermal padding. No need to go to Mars. Does it look any different? I think it looks the same. Yeah, I think that's almost the same as tier 1, right? It glows green and red. Every now and then I have to make these decisions. Do I end the episode here, or do we keep on trucking and go for the tier 3 rocket? It's going to be so much crafting. Honestly, not anything super expensive at this point. Like, we have pretty much all this stuff. IV components, which is not really a big deal at this point. Tier 1 rocket boosters. We are going to need fuel, which we should have that. Oxygen vents, a lot of nested recipes. Yeah, main thing I want to make sure we have is the tier 3 heavy duty plating made in the implosion compressor. And the compressor takes industrial TNT to run, and guess what conveniently makes us industrial TNT? That's right, the bees, the good old bees. That's even more forward planning, which is now paying off, or should pay off once we run the implosion compressor. And I think I'm going to plug that in so we can run recipes automatically. It shouldn't be too difficult to do, we already have channels over here. But for these heavy duty plates, normally it takes the metal from the previous tier planet. So from the tier 2 planet, i.e. Mars. So in this case, for heavy duty tier 3, we need dash plates and platinum. Platinum we have, but there's a bit of a hold up here. And we've got through a lot of the combs, but there's that energy issue actually at the plat line. Which honestly, there's not really any reason to delay that upgrade. Let's go ahead and craft a high amp transformer. And this is going to have to be quick. No, it's the wrong way. Dang it. Point down. Okay, hopefully that didn't turn off any machines. And I did switch out the right one, right? Yeah, I think so. All these machines seem to stay running. Yeah, notice that we have over 2 million platinum concentrate. And I think there's actually a lot buffered in the LCR. In the hives down here. I came down here earlier and there is so much platinum concentrate. Yeah, 700k. Plus the 2 million in the system down at Platline. So hopefully, with any luck, we should start to process some more of our platinum into platinum dust. I don't think it went anywhere. We didn't void too much. Only a couple of recipes, I hope. But the rest is just waiting to be processed right now. But yeah, tier 3 plating for the rocket. We need dash, right? Yeah, dash plates. How much dash do we have? Is this something that we... 17k? And is this a blast furnace recipe? I bet it is. Yeah, 100 seconds at HV. That should be like 16 seconds, 15 seconds at IV. This is going to be a painful craft, but I think we can manage it, right? Yeah, we ain't stopping here. Let's get this tier 3 rocket. We've come this far. We've come this far. What's a little bit of extra grind here? Alright guys, we're back, and that really wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. In this chest should be everything we need for our tier 3 rocket. Yeah, definitely way easier to craft the rocket this time around with all the infrastructure we have. But yeah, I basically just added recipes for all this stuff, so I could rely on applied energistics to auto-craft it for us. At least the vast majority of the things we have on auto-craft now. So actually the tier 4 rocket shouldn't be that bad once we have the materials we need for the heavy duty plating. So checking our quest page for the space race chapter, I did also go ahead and complete the rocket fuel quests. We were blocked by needing RP1 rocket fuel, which needs RP1, which is distilling kerosene, and then liquid oxygen you cool down in the freezer. Combine both of those in the chemical plant and we get RP1. And then after that it was just a bunch of, well, collecting the materials and the chemicals that we crafted earlier on for our dense hydrazine. So yeah, the last thing we need for the rocket is the control computer and the spacesuit. The spacesuit we can get if we take it off. I think it's going to give us the quest. There we go, nice and comfortable. And for the control computer, we have all the resources here. We just need to borrow our IV assembly machine and a source of power, so I guess we're going to take one of these batteries. Only 11%, but that should be more than enough to run the recipe. And we need to be inside a clean room for this. So we can drop down the assembly machine. Looks like there's no circuit number for this, so we need a display, keyboard, computer case, source of power, soldering alloy, IV emitter, IV sensor, heavy duty plating. Yes, there we go, 30 seconds. Oh, these dang eggs. So many eggs. And there it is, our rocket control computer tier 3. Looks like we did have enough power. Let's put this back, because we actually do use this. There's the quest. We actually do use that assembly machine quite often. We're also going to invest in some new oxygen tanks as well, with the compressed dash and a bit of tungsten steel oxygen pipes. And this gives us the heavy oxygen tank, which should be a quest. So the oxygen tanks obviously will let us breathe in space, right? The ones we have right now only hold 2,000. These hold 4,000, although these were actually the ones available after tier 2. However, the tier 3 super large oxygen tanks need iridium fluid cells, and this needs Nuquada. And yeah, obviously we don't have Nuquada yet. We have plenty of iridium, but eventually we'll get the super heavy. Okay, so it's time to assemble the tier 3 rocket. It would be pretty funny if I missed something at this point, right? But yeah, 4 fins, rocket engine, tier 1 boosters, heavy duty plate in tier 3, nose cone, control computer, lander, 2 medium fuel canisters, 2 blank fuel canisters. Oh, maybe not. Dang it, we actually are missing something here. Fortunately, it's easy enough to fix. We just have to fill the fuel canisters with some of these compressed platings. Okay, second time lucky. 4 fins, rocket engine, heavy duty plating, fuel canisters, control computer, tier 3 lander, fuel canisters, 2 heavy duty tier 2 plates, and the nose cone. And yes, we have it. Our tier 3 rocket. There it is. We are ready for some space travel. Oh yeah, I'm liking this a lot. I'm liking this a lot, and we are one step closer to tier 7. We have 3 of 7 rockets. I mean, I think there's 8 rockets, right? Yeah, there is the tier 8 rocket. But yeah, our goal, I'm not going to remove the goalposts at this point. Our goal is still the tier 7 rocket in this series. And yeah, most importantly, we completed all 3 of our objectives today. We got tier 3 rocket, rocket fuel, way more than enough rocket fuel, and our thermal padding. So yeah, we're ready to check out the tier 3 planets. We also are very well prepared in getting polybenzimidazole fully automated. phthalic acid, and yeah, we're fixing our plat line slowly. And yeah, something else I'm not sure I mentioned is that the tier 3 planets will give us platinum ore, so we can feed this platinum line like, yeah, we can feed this tons and tons of input. Platinum metallic powder dust is the main thing, which will supplement the bees as well. So yeah, lots of exciting things to look forward to, but for now, that's going to be it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.